you through the lot, now you know I'm coming through. When the growth look good on you, best believe they wanna screw now. I've been trying to climb, devil threw me in the dark. Baby, don't be insecure, you can still go make a mark like blow. Could never let them drain my soul now. Blow. Table turning like doorknobs, wow. Blow. I think I'm about to set sail. I'm a walking, living legend, walking with my chest out. Life keep dealing me cards, I keep feeling it.
What is going on, People's G? You know what time it is. You know what it is. We're back in the building, and we are filming this early morning. Early bird gets the worm and all of that, just so we can get these videos out to you guys. As you guys can see, obviously on the screen, today is another Scout Watch, and we're going to be talking about Manu Koné. Before we even dive into all of that, please make sure you guys smash that like button, smash the subscribe button if you are new, and yeah, drop some players, man. Drop some more players. I've got a list of players that I want to obviously get throughout this whole summer, you know, with the transfer window, you know, soon to start. But if you guys have got obviously any players you think could, you know, help out Liverpool next season, any players you think we might potentially or should potentially be interested in, you know, for the forthcoming season, please drop their names in the comments and I will take a deeper look at them. So big up all the people who have done so already. Don't worry, I'm literally working my way through. There's about 10 names I've got listed on top of the other videos that I've obviously got to film and pre-record and stuff like that. So yeah, don't worry, you'll see it throughout the summer and in the next coming weeks and months anyway, so don't you worry about that. But as I said, today we're here to talk about Manu Koné. Now obviously the news dropped yesterday in regards to Kone and Liverpool potentially starting talks. I don't want to, I'll get the news up for you. But obviously this was posted out by Fabrizio Romano. Manu Koné, one of the midfielders into Liverpool's list. He's highly rated, as LFC are already informed on conditions of the deal. Parties feel there's a chance for Kone to leave this summer as Bald Cord. He's a name to consider for Liverpool plans. So again, what I take from that, and you know, Fabrizio is the GOAT at the end of the day. He's the one that I'm gonna listen to the most when it does come, you know, to news and stuff like that. There's obviously a couple of others, but he's the one I'm looking at and I'm thinking, okay, if he's saying something, he's not saying that Liverpool have put a bid in. He's not saying anything like that. He's just saying that Kone is a name, you know, on the list of midfielders that we might potentially be looking at, you know, for this summer. And again, the list, in my opinion, seems to be a very, very long list. It seems to be a list full of different names, different profiles. I think also the list, as it should do, like anyone who knows, you know, in regards to like football, you'll know you got to have your first target, second target, third target, alternatives, you know, to the first target, maybe an alternative to the second target, and potentially an alternative, you know, to your third target. So we're going to see different names, we're going to see different profiles and stuff like that. So it's going to be interesting to see who we actually sign. You know, forget the interest. The interest is just the interest, and you know, rumors are just rumors. It's the transfer season. Don't worry, we're going to get linked to Lionel Messi very, very soon. But when it comes to the transfer, actually signing these players, it's going to be interesting to see who we sign, where they play in the team, you know, and all of that kind of stuff. But in regards to, you know, Kone, very, very good midfielder. I would just class him as a essential midfielder. I mean, defensive. He plays in a double pivot, you know, most of the time. But yeah, central midfielder. He can play in the 6. He can play also in the 8 as well. I wouldn't say he's played. It depends on the kind of formation that you're looking at and how you see the formation in terms of where they kind of end up, you know, on the pitch and stuff like that. Obviously, when we're looking at Manu Koné's heat map, you can see most of his game is actually played on that left-hand side of the midfield. Now, it's played both in the defensive side and a bit further up in that number 8 position, not really on that right-hand side. So I'm going to think, and I'm going to say, if Liverpool do look to sign someone like Kone, I'm thinking that, you know, he's going to be playing somewhere along that left-hand side, whether it's the 6, whether it's the 8, whether it's, you know, we saw news about Kefren Turam, whether it's, if we can't get the Turam deal done, is it, you know, Kone then the backup to that? You know, all of these things that we've got to kind of think about, you know, in terms of the players. As I mentioned just a second ago, it's all about the alternatives. You know, if you can't get that target, okay, well, who's the next target that you're looking to get in? Who's the next guy? You know, kind of thing. And obviously, we know with Liverpool's midfield situation in terms of needing a new midfield. To be honest with you, you know, we're going to be looking at all of these different, you know, types of players. But Manu Koné, you know, I would describe him as a bit of a. He's a. I mean, not an orchestrator because he's not that type of player. He's neat in possession. He is quite progressive in his dribbling, in his ball carrying, shall I say. Obviously, we'll get into the stats and stuff now. Looking at his pass completion, obviously the ones that highlighted. Apologies, guys, if you guys can't see it fully, and you might have to just large up the screen. Pass completion, he's at 86.2%. You know, really, really good. It puts him at the the 78th percentile. Progressive carries, 78 again. Successful take-ons, 96th percentile. And as I said, he is someone who will pick up the ball and try to drive the team forward. And because of the way that Monchengladbach, the team that he plays for in the Bundesliga, because of the way that they play with their deeper midfielders. They're involved quite a lot in the build-up play, and they're a team who like to build up. Not necessarily would I say quickly, but they are a team who do like to, build up kind of from the back, and they do use their two double pivots in order for them to be able to achieve that. So, would that then work for Liverpool potentially? Potentially. That's something to consider. As I said here, this is posted out by Transfer Market in terms of the positions that he has played. Take this off for you guys. Central midfield 24 times, defensive midfield, and attacking midfield. And this is why I mentioned about it depends on, obviously, if you watch the games and, as soon as this news broke out, I was on the Jamie Phillips' show, and the news obviously broke out. So I spent the evening just kind of trying to see what this guy is all about. I have obviously a lot of people kept talking about him before, maybe in the last, say, since the January transfer window, he was a name that kind of popped up on the radar. Didn't really know too much about him, but last night having a look, watching back some of Monchengladbach's games, I was just more trying to figure out what's his positioning like, and I don't want to get copyrighted by YouTube, hence the reason why I won't put up a video. But when you're watching their matches, in terms of his positioning and would I say his most, let's say, common position, that he would have for them, it is mostly in that, double pivot on the left hand side. So obviously here, Julian Weigl, obviously playing alongside of him, and that is mostly Manu Koné's position. Now, obviously in Liverpool's formation, in this new formation, in the 3-2-2-3, yeah, in that kind of formation, Manu Koné, for me, I'm assuming would probably fit in that position that Fabinho's in. That kind of makes a little bit of sense. But I don't think it's something that is a done deal in terms of that's the only position he can play in. We know about Jurgen Klopp's need for having players who are, relatively versatile. As I said here with the heat map, again, down that left-hand side, he can play in that double pivot, but also I feel that he's comfortable playing, in that 8th position. Might potentially alternate if we do potentially buy a number 6, for the summer. We might not, but if we, for example, couldn't get the Kefrem Thuram deal, maybe that might change the thinking. Maybe that might have Jurgen Klopp thinking, okay, well, if we can't get the Thuram deal done, the Kone deal sounds like a deal that might be a lot easier to do. If we can get that deal done, then we could potentially not get Thuram, get Kone, then buy a number 6. Kone can then play in that, number 8 position. And I don't think that would be too much of an issue for Kone. You can see his stats this season: played 31 times, 1 goal, 1 assist. Like I said, he's a good ball carrier. He's a very, very good ball carrier, and I think that's something that we are kind of missing in the midfield for Liverpool. This season. We've had Fabinho obviously there. We know about Fabinho. We know about his kind of struggles this season. We've had then Trent then come into that midfield position. The type of player that Trent is. This is why I'm wondering, okay, cool. So maybe you want a player who's equally good at breaking up play, but then also is comfortable in possession. Maybe that's the type of player that you generally want. Maybe we don't want, potentially, again, we've been linked to other players like Lavia, players who I wouldn't call destroyers. I wouldn't say, oh, well, he's in the midfield for us to, just purely here for the ball winning aspect of the game. They are very, very comfortable in possession. Are we then moving or transitioning into a new style of play? is that then going to change the type of players, that we potentially look for in the future? And I think Kone kind of falls into that bracket. He is, for me, he's probably in my opinion, a more defensive Kefren Turam. Kefren Turam, I feel, again, can do both roles. He, for me, mostly plays in that number 8 position, but I would feel that he's a bit more attack minded than a Kone. Whereas I look at Kone and he's on the other side of thing. Again, can still do both roles where he can get up and down, box to box kind of thing, but you'd prefer him to be alongside another player, i.e. Trent Alexander-Arnold, and hence the reason why I feel that that's why we're looking at someone like a Kone. But I also do think that if we could get Kone and Thuram, I think the club would probably try to do that as well. So, interesting times, when it does come, when it does come to Liverpool. Just back to this, the metrics, tackles, again, this is posted out by FBREF. Tackles 2.55 per game, which puts him at the 77th percentile, and then blocks 1.52 per game, which puts him at 81. So again, showing that, he is a player that can break up play, but it's more, I'm looking at the successful take-ons, which puts him at the 96th percentile for this season. He does that, 1.97, just under 2 times per 90 minutes, which is pretty good for a player who plays in that kind of double pivot position. Again, it's all about the comfortability. It's all about the mobility, being in that position. Again, we go back to, Fabinho. We've seen with his mobility this season, it's just not really there. And for what Jurgen Klopp requires within his team, we kind of need that. We really, really do. We need a functioning midfield. Otherwise, things are just not necessarily going to work. Now, this is obviously Kone's stats. So this is on the left-hand side of your screen. You can see stats from this season. In comparison to Kone for Gladbach last season. And, in quite a lot of the metrics, he has improved. Passes in opposition half, again, 610 to 486. In own half, more forward, but a lot more forward passes, doing a lot more backward passes as well, and sideway passing. Ball recoveries. There's something about ball recoveries when I see this metric. All the time. I really, really, especially obviously from central midfielders or defensive midfielders, I really, really like that statistic, because it just shows me quite a lot as to how good you are at, winning the ball back kind of thing, whether you've lost it or whether the team's lost it. What are you like trying to win the ball back? Are you a player who is playing in the midfield but isn't really that good at recovering the ball? Because we know what Liverpool's, tactic is like, because of the way that we play, because of the way that we press. If we do lose the ball because of our high risk game, we need players who are able to recover that ball quite quickly and quite efficiently. Is Kone one of those players? He's improving. He is improving. Obviously, we'll get onto the other statistics in a second. And then obviously, last but not least, this is the only one where I looked at and I thought, okay, he's kind of regressed. And on the right-hand side, he played less games last season in the 21-22 season than he did in the 22-23 season. But he has regressed in a couple of things. And again, it's not really major. That again might just come down to the sheer fact of the way that Gladbach might be playing this season. Players more accustomed to someone like a Kone. Again, Kone also getting more experience, and maybe potentially adding new things and different type of things, in his game. But when I look at, again, Fabinho being in that position, what are they like? As I said to you, the ball recovery straight away. But Fabinho, for me, hasn't been that good, at winning the ball back this season. But, Kone 221 to 180. Forget the goals, chances created 20 to 17. Again, not anything major in terms of, that's not necessarily what I'm looking at you for. But, the sheer fact that you're doing a lot more than the player that we do currently have there, I'm not gonna cry about that. And this is another statistic that I really, really love: ground duels contested. This is, I feel, in Liverpool's midfield is vitally important, because we seem to have quite a lot of ground duels in games. And you can see here, Kone 368 to Fabinho's 202. We've seen with Fabinho this season what he's been like in the duels in the general sense. And you can see, look, he's absolutely dwarfing it. The sheer fact that Fabinho has done 202 ground duels and only 196 at a 47% success rate, with Kone 368, 208 that he's won, and his success rate is 56.52. Again, really, really good numbers. And like I said, when you watch when you watch Kone, it's one of those things. It's so difficult. Just before I get onto the last one, it's so difficult because when we're thinking about players that we want to sign, obviously each season when you're trying to improve the squad, improve upon the squad from the previous season, obviously you start looking at, okay, well, which player is doing this, which player is doing that, which player is not doing this, which player is not doing that. And then because we've had such a poor season, what I am seeing quite, a lot is that because we've had such a poor season, certain players have played so just dead, this season, in the majority of it. When we're looking at other midfielders or just other players in a general sense, I wouldn't say there's an overreaction to some of the players that we're being linked with, but at the same time, I am. At the same time, it is a little bit like, well, he's doing this, he's doing that, and that's absolutely fine. But Liverpool having such a shit season, it's almost like, because we don't know what's going to happen next season. We don't know if Fabinho might just go back to being the Fabinho that we know. Van Dijk might go back. Trent might go back. All of these things, all of these players might just go back and just reset themselves. I have no idea. Know what nobody does. Unfortunately, in football, it's kind of difficult to kind of judge that at times. Yes, you can use some extenuating factors and all external factors and blah, blah, blah. That's absolutely fine. But because football's moving, and then you've got the worry of other teams then improving, upon their performances in the previous season, it's then like, kind of thing. So when we're then judging a player, 2 years ago, for example, obviously Kone was a lot younger, so was Fabinho. But 2 years ago, it wouldn't have been even conceivable to think, oh yeah, let's sign a new blah 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 DM kind of thing. You might have not even you might have been thinking, yeah, let me get a younger DM, so a Lavia or a Bajcetic kind of thing. You wouldn't have minded if they came in to kind of work under a Fabinho, because you didn't think Fabinho was going to drop off this massively. Now, again, like I said, it might just be a loss this season thing. We might just reset, go back to normal. Liverpool finishing first or second in the league, mostly second, but we're finishing in those kind of positions. We're battling with Manchester City. We're winning this, or we're trying to win that, blah, blah, blah. This could all be a moot point. It could be, but we can't bank on that, unfortunately, especially when all these other teams are improving. So when we are looking at some of these players, sometimes I find it difficult. And when I was doing the research for him, last night, it's like, I like these players. I really, really do. I'll quickly go on to the last statistics again. 400, and this kind of sums it up. 409 to Fabinho's 253. Tackles made 74 to Fabinho's 65. Now, I didn't get up the statistics from a couple of seasons back, when Fabinho was kind of in his prime. But this is what I'm talking about. We had such a poor season. These numbers are going to be low anyway. They were always going to be low. So as long as you had a good enough player to put them up against, I almost feel like sometimes when I'm doing the scout watches, I'm thinking it's almost a bit unfair because we've had such a poor season. Anybody who's doing well this season, is it fair to then match them up? Again, that's for Jurgen Klopp to decide. At the end of the day, he's the one potentially who wants to sign these players. But it's just about where these players are going to fit. Are they the right profile of player? Are they the type of player that we do need, in the squad? Are they going to be a player who is going to help enhance the squad in some way, whether that be off the bench, whether that be as a starter, whether that rotation, all of these kind of things? How does it work? And then again, I go back to Jurgen Klopp. If he doesn't utilize the squad properly, doesn't matter who you sign. If he doesn't sign the right profile of players, and guys, please make sure you check out my Liverpool exit strategy video, because that's where I speak about, if Klopp doesn't learn to just rotate, if he doesn't learn to be a bit more flexible within his style of play, within the tactics that he uses, if he doesn't do all of these kind of things, you can get all of these players. We've seen that we've got Thiago. Have we utilized him properly, taking out the injuries? No, not really. You know what I mean? The Thiago we see today, taking away his injuries, isn't the Thiago that I thought we were signing. We got a different Thiago than the one I thought we was getting. And the one that I thought we was getting is a lot better than the one that we've got currently now. Again, taking away, his injury record. So I just don't want to be, shoehorning players into positions that we don't necessarily need to. Obviously, looking here, just a little description, of Kone. In terms of his style of play. During the attacking phase of play, Kone demonstrates an eagerness to be on the ball, often without checking who is around him on the pitch. That might just be due to his youthful exuberance. when his team is on the attack, he can often be seen to make under or overlapping runs out wide with a tactical intelligence not often seen in players so young. When he is in possession, he does show great ability to retain and shield the ball from opponents. So I'm just reading that again, looking at that. During the attacking phase of play, Kone demonstrates an eagerness to be on the ball often without checking who is around him on the pitch. And I'm like, okay, even whilst watching him, in some of the highlights and stuff like that, I was like, I kind of agree with that in a sense. I do kind of agree with that. He is a young player at the end of the day, and because he is decent on the ball anyway, I feel like he's one of those type of players who, it's just that confidence, like in terms of the overconfidence that he might just potentially have whilst he's kind of on the ball. But these are the kind of positions that he takes up whilst he's on the pitch. Anyway, for Gladbach, again in that kind of double pivot role, this is him obviously charging forward. Like it said, he is a player who likes to just move the ball forward and then obviously pop it off to the more attacking players, so to speak. But he can cover quite well defensively, but mostly on this left hand side. Hence the reason why I feel he's either coming in as the number 6 to replace Fabinho, or he is the Kefren Turam maybe alternative, but he can play in both positions, to be honest with you. And I think that he is quite comfortable in either positions. And I'm not ruling out the fact that Liverpool might potentially, sign both players. So, just seeing a couple of stills here, a couple of shots there, just of the kind of positions that he does like to take up. And again, I advise everybody to go away and just watch some of Gladbach's games and watch what Kone does both in and out of possession. He is comfortable. He is very, very comfortable in both ways. So I'm not sitting here and saying that he wouldn't necessarily work. It's just about where he fits, in the team for Liverpool. Now, this is obviously, I can't remember who Gladbach were playing in this game. But looking here, you can kind of see, so they've kind of got, with the full-back / wing-backs obviously pushed out wide, you can see they've got the 3 at the back there, with Kone dropping in to kind of make or to kind of act as the defensive midfielder, in that position. That's going to be relatively similar in terms of when Liverpool do have possession of the ball. It's going to be relatively similar in certain actions, in certain phases of play. So I'm looking at that, and again, when you watch him, he is a player who does like to come drop deep for the ball, to pick up the ball off the defenders or off the goalkeeper. He just makes himself an option. That was something that I noticed quite a lot when I was watching him. He likes to be an option for the defenders and the goalkeeper. So again, it's just really about how these kind of players fit in the team. I know I keep saying it, but that for me is just going to be the key. It's the right profile of player. If you believe that this player is the right profile of player, then go out there and try and get the deal done as quickly as possible. But Kone, good ball carrier, someone who's comfortable in possession, someone who is comfortable out of possession as well. Positionally, he is aware. He is quite aware of his surroundings. He's got a very good IQ, but he's still young. He is still young, so he is still even developing. So hopefully he can get even better, and hopefully we can sign him. And if we do sign him, I'm hoping that we can kind of flourish here, at Liverpool. Even when Klopp leaves as well, if we do get a new manager in, hopefully, a player like Kone, if we were to sign him, would have then developed into a very cultured midfielder, someone that we can take into that kind of new age. So it would be interesting to kind of see. Guys, let me know what you guys think in the comments. This obviously news broke out yesterday in the evening time. So at the moment, I'm not going to say that Liverpool have put in a bid. I don't believe so. At the time of this video, they may have put in a bid for him potentially, but at the moment I know it's just pure interest. So it will just be interesting to see how that kind of pans out. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. Is Manu Koné a player that we should sign? If we do sign him, where does he play? Is he going to be in the double pivot in alongside a Trent Alexander-Arnold? Is he going to play in that number 8 position? Is he the alternative to a Kefren Turam, or is he going to play behind a Kefren Turam, or will he just be a rotation option? So many things to consider. So let me know what you guys think, obviously, in the comment section. That's today's Scout Watch, done and dusted. Manu Koné, big up your damn self. I am outie.